Hello everyone. Minasan konnichiwa. Welcome to special program today. The Japan America Society of Georgia is so thrilled and honored to partner with Table for Two's Washokuiku to present our program about Edamame. We'll have a short presentation on the health benefits of soy, and then we'll have a very fun and interactive edamame competition. And then at the very end of our program today, we will have a miso ramen demonstration, and you can also certainly cook along with us as well. My name is Yoshi Domoto. I'm the Executive Director of the Japan America Society of Georgia, and so thrilled that you are all joining with us. Certainly Georgia and Japan, we share very close business ties with over 600 Japanese companies here, but we also share very close cultural ties as well, and this is part of our programming promoting Japanese culture to not only people in Georgia but throughout the Southeast and the entire U.S. as well. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our very special guest presenter, Ms. Deborah Samuels. Deborah is the lead curriculum developer of Table for Two's Washokuiku and chef extraordinaire and Japanese cuisine expert. So with, I guess, virtual round of applause, let's welcome Ms. Deborah Samuels. Deborah-san, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Hi. Minasan, ohayou gozaimasu. Thank you. I'm Deborah Samuels. I'm talking to you from my home kitchen in Lexington, Massachusetts, a town outside, about 10 miles outside of Boston, home of the American Revolution. I'd like to welcome you to our Edamame Champ program this morning. Thank you for getting up and joining us. Just 2 minutes, I'll tell you why somebody who looks like me is teaching you about Japan. I started going to Japan in 1972 as a 20-year-old college student on a study abroad program. And since that time, I've lived in Japan a total of 12 years and have studied Japanese cuisine and have been teaching about Japanese cooking pretty much all of my professional life. So I'm thrilled to be able to continue doing this and teaching people about, our program Washokuiku teaches kids about Japanese food, culture, and nutrition. And this is one of our campaigns for Table for Two that we do every year in the spring. So as Yoshi said, we have 3 parts to this program. The first part is a kind of a 10-minute PowerPoint presentation, but a fun one about our organization and about soy. And then the next part is the chopstick competition. And then the final part is making miso ramen for you. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen and we will get started on our presentation about soy. So this is our Washokuiku Learn, Cook, Eat Japanese program. We, as I said, do this in schools, usually face-to-face, and we teach all about Japanese cuisine, culture, and nutrition. So today we are going to be doing Edamame Champ, our annual campaign. So Table for Two is an organization that started in Japan. It is an NPO, which is the Japanese call, it's a nonprofit organization. And it strives to tackle the food imbalance in the world. And so in a world population of 7 billion people, about 1 billion experience hunger or inadequate food or food insecurity. And about 2 billion have too much food and perhaps don't eat it as well as they should. And we have an obesity problem. So both of these are issues. And Table for Two tries to teach about healthy eating through all different programs and help also directly with healthy school meals that we deliver in parts of the world and also here in the United States too. That's part of our mission. So what is our Washokuiku program? Many of you probably know Japanese, and so you know the word washokuiku, washoku, and shokuiku. And washokuiku is a combination of these two words. Washoku means Japanese food, and shokuiku is Japanese food education. And it is a mandate. All children in Japan, starting in elementary school all the way through high school, learn a variety of things in their food education program. They learn about nutrition, manners, appreciation towards food, and about the food environment out there. So it's a very successful way of getting people aware of their environment. Our Japanese, that is inspired us to create a Japanese inspired food education program that kind of combines all of the philosophies of shokuiku. So kids learn in the classroom through presentations, then they actually do hands-on cooking of a particular recipe. And then, of course, the best part about it is that everybody eats together. Our subjects are things that are typically Japanese and run from learning about rice, BQ Gourmet, which is contemporary Japanese food, fish, soy products, Japanese wagashi, you see the dorayaki, and bento. And we have over 16 subjects that we teach in our programs. Our Edamame Champ campaign runs from April through June 15th. I think it's June 15th, may even be, I think it's Edamame Day in Japan. And so we run our campaign around the same time. And we do this through virtual events, which you are joining now. And for each person that joins a virtual event, our sponsors provide one food education class for one child. And those can run about $25 per child when we add up all of our expenses. So just by being here, you're helping us. And then we also have join the Soy Photo Challenge, where this year we are asking people to take pictures of any soy-related food, upload it with a hashtag Edamame Champ and to their social media. And for every photo that's uploaded, we also, from our sponsors, receive one food education class for a child. So hopefully afterwards, you'll take a picture of your miso ramen and upload it for us, or any other soy item. So this is the Soy Photo Challenge. As I said, you take a picture of the soy, a soy-related food, post it with Edamame Champ, and you bring our food education program. It doesn't have to be a recipe that you make. It could just be a product or something that you make. Anything would be great. So let's talk a little bit about soy. It's a key ingredient in Japanese food. You see the green pods are called edamame, and these are the immature or young soybeans, and they're about 1 month old. And this is what in Japan they're eating originally as bar snacks with beer. Of course, we don't promote eating it with beer with children, but it's now become, as you probably well know, a snack that everybody has, and you can get edamame at Trader Joe's frozen or in your local supermarket. So it's become part of the American culinary scene. Here you see the dried beans that are called daizu. These are the older beans at around 3 months. And these are what are turned into products here, either by fermenting it, cooking it, or whatever. So they are both soy. Soy and edamame is very healthy, fun to eat, delicious. Last year we had an edamame recipe contest, and people have made all sorts of things with it. Potato salad, kakiage, which is you fry it with different sorts of, in a batter. Zunda, if anybody knows, is a sweet crushed edamame with sugar, and also as an edamame dip. So it's really very good. And recently, edamame is also something that you can spice up. And here, I'll show you a little quick video. I just took some garlic, ginger, and scallion, 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, heated it up, and had a very delicious snack. And so people are not eating them just straight now. They're adding all sorts of different flavorings, which is great for watching sports or whatever. Oops, we go back again. So edamame are grown in large fields. And as you can see, they're grown on stalks, and they are grown widely in the US. So we'd like to know if you can think of who might be the largest soybean producer in the world. I know you can't answer me right now. Maybe you can put in the chat box, but the #1 producer is Brazil. The second one, USA. Last year, it was the other way around, and so Brazil has surpassed us. But the USA is one of the major producers of soybeans in the world. As you can see up there in the upper Midwest, there are many, many large soybean farms going as far down south as it looked like as Louisiana. And these fields are enormous, but most of our edamame, our soybeans, is exported to the tune of 60% of our beans are exported to China, to Japan, to Europe, to South America. It goes all over the world. We have about the rest 40% for domestic consumption. We make soybean oil and food for animals. And we are now starting to actually eat our own soybeans as well. So soy is used in so many different ways in Japanese cuisine. We have the edamame that you eat directly, soybean oil, soy milk, soy sauce, and miso. Miso is all of these are soy sauce, miso are fermented foods and a very important part of the Japanese diet. Tofu and natto, okay, which is a fermented soybean that is very sticky. Some people find it smelly, but it is called Japanese superfood. It is extremely nutritious. And now beginning to see recipes for it here in the United States. So these are some of the ways that, some of the products that are turned into soy products from these soybeans. And as you know, they are served in so many different ways in dishes: miso soup, inari sushi. The fried tofu pockets are the inari or inari-san, and that's what you stuff rice into. Hiyayako is another way to eat tofu, which is a cold tofu with ginger and katsu and a few scallions on top. A wonderful dish during the summer. Nimame are just the straight boiled soybeans. Tofu donut. Everyone wants to get into the act. I just made tofu scones the other day, quite delicious. Kinako is roasted soy flour. Yuba, which is the skin of the soy milk, and okara, which is the byproduct of making tofu. And all of these are very nutritious and delicious ways of making, of using soy products. Soy is considered a meat of the field. And a lot of these slides you're seeing are, the educational part of our programs for kids. We get them to think about why it might be called the meat of the field. Protein, okay. A lot of vegetarians use soy as their major source of protein. And therefore, it's gotten the nickname of meat of the fields because people who are not vegetarians get their protein from animals, fish, chicken, wherever. So it is a plant-based protein and a very healthy one at that. So we are now almost ready to do our Edamame Champ program. That was a little bit of the educational value that we have with telling people about soy. All of our programs always have an educational component. So what I'm going to do now is show you a short video about how the Edamame Champ program championship works.
Are you ready for the most intense competition of this century? Hey, we are Table for Two, a nonprofit that promotes healthy diet through Japanese-inspired food education program called Washokuiku. Today, we're introducing Edamame Champ! This is a nationwide competition that tests your chopstick skills. All you need is one pair of chopsticks, 25 or more edamame, timer, and the Edamame Champ score sheet, which you can download from our website. If you don't have a printer, you can make one yourself like this. The rule is simple. Place all edamame on one side of the sheet. Set a timer for 1 minute, then make as many circles as possible using your chopsticks. 5 edamames make 1 circle. Then count the number of edamame you moved. Share your score with a photo or video with hashtag #EdamameChamp and tag us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. The highest scoring individuals will be invited to a final championship. If you're interested, learn more about healthy Japanese cuisine with our online courses with these videos. And if you would like to support our program through donation, we would always appreciate that. Any amount helps. Now let's have fun with Edamame Champ and make a difference.
So if everybody can come on, Yoshi, do you want to ask everybody to appear?
Yes. So what's going to happen now, everyone who's tuning in live, is that we'll be inviting you to be quote unquote panelists to this webinar. So you'll be joining our webinar live. And if you would like to, turn on your cameras and your microphones, and you can be part of this, the chopsticks competition interactively.
So we have 2 competitions this morning. The first one is the chopstick challenge, where you're going to move the edamame from a bowl or a plate or the paper and make circles and as fast as you can, and then we'll count them up at the end. And then the second competition is a creative composition. So you move your edamame with your chopsticks and make something creative, as you can see, like a sun or a heart or anything you like. The winners of each event will be invited to championships that we have on June 12th. And to make this fair, we do have different categories. So we have the learner category and the expert. Experts are people who grew up using chopsticks. So if you grew up using chopstick, you are either a kid, teen, or adult expert. If you have not grown up using chopsticks, you are a learner, a kid, teen, or adult learner. And whoever wins this gets invited to the major competition, and then you get to compete among a lot of people in the United States.
So this will be the Atlanta, Georgia regional competition, I guess, right? So.
Yes, this is the Atlanta, Georgia regional competition, exactly. So if everybody has their chopsticks ready, like this, and you put your edamame down on a sheet of paper here. It's upside down for me, but here we go. I'm going to put them all out like this. And then you're just going to create, from here, you'll just move your chopsticks. So if everybody's ready, I am going to start the music, and I will tell you when to go. I have my handy dandy little 1-minute timer here, and we'll get ready. And at the end of this, we will ask you to put your number and your category in the chat box, okay? Number and category in the chat box, and Yoshi-san and Maki-san will be monitoring that. All right, everybody, starting the music, and I'll tell you when to go. San, ni, ichi, stato! 30 seconds left. Five, four, three, two, one. Stop. Okay. All right, that was for real, everybody. Put your scores in the chat box and we will record them and let you know later who the winner is. Don't forget to put your category in because we will have multiple winners. So if you're ready, we're going to do our next challenge, which would be to create some kind of a design with your edamame. You've got 2 minutes for this. And as you see here, I wanted to create a sun. So you write it down and then you can create it any way you want. You can put them all in a circle. If you have edamame pods, you could use those too. So that's totally fine. Any kind of design or anything that you want. Oh, that looks like a fish to me now. So anyway, we are going to get started on that, a little bit of fun. And then after these 2 minutes, we're getting right to our cooking program. 3, 2, 1, stato. Okay, 50 seconds left. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Okay. Ramen is the new sushi. It's just exploded everywhere here in the United States. And of course, it's ever popular in Japan. Ramen having come from China to Japan via Chinese immigrants who came to work in Japan. And usually when people move, they bring their food with them. And so ramen was one of them, one of the foods that the Chinese immigrants brought. And of course, we adapt foods to our own cultures. And so ramen has now evolved to be a really almost high gourmet type of food when it was really sort of a BQ gourmet, which is the food of the masses or food that everybody enjoys, kind of a fast food. But the ramen soup that people make is anything but fast. It usually is simmered for hours or days even. And the soup broth is usually a very closely guarded secret from one ramen shop to the other. But the main categories of ramen are shoyu ramen, which is a soy sauce based broth, shio ramen, which is a salted ramen and usually uses just the stock that the bones is cooked in, usually a beef, chicken, stock, pork bones, all mixed together. And then miso ramen. And again, these ramens are very regional as well. Miso ramen is very, very popular up north. It's a heavier ramen. So as we think about miso, as we think about ramen and broth, we know that there's a lot of sodium in ramen and a lot of calories. And so what we try to do in our cooking program is to try to show alternatives or healthier versions. So today we're going to use a miso ramen. Our broth is not chicken based or beef based or anything. We are using a ground pork. I'm not sure how many of you are cooking along with me today. You might want to just raise your hand so that I have some idea who's going to be cooking. Today we're going to use ground pork, but for people who are vegetarians, you know, pork has this meaty umami. What I suggest that people do is kind of replace it with a similar type of flavor. And for that, I would suggest perhaps mushrooms. That helps to add flavor to the stock instead of the ground pork that we're going to be using today. So, and we were going to be mixing it all together in a pot where the soup will be ready in less than 15 minutes, which is pretty darn good. So there are 4 parts to ramen, and the 4 parts are obviously the noodles. Usually wheat-based noodles. Sometimes they have an egg in them. Sometimes they're wavy. You can buy them dry or fresh. I'm using fresh today, and that will depend on how long you cook them. The second part is the broth, which we talked about, and both in the noodles and in the broth, there's a lot of sodium. So we're trying to lower that a little bit today. Also, when Japanese eat ramen, they don't necessarily finish the broth, as delicious as it is, to lower the sodium content. And then you have the tare, which is the sauce or the seasoning, and which we're going to be making with the miso today, and then the toppings. And toppings can be the pork slices. It usually you see an egg, nori, seaweed, very often corn. And again, these things have become adaptations that have been done throughout different cultures. So without further ado, we are also going to get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. So as many people know, in Japan, it's as important how food looks as how food tastes. And so Japanese garnishes are usually very well thought out, and they're usually edible. And so we're starting today with the last thing that goes on top of the ramen bowl, which are scallions. And I just wanted to show you how to cut the scallions so that you will end up with a beautiful little curly mountain at the top of your ramen when we're all done. So it's just a bowl of water, cold water, and you take your scallion like this, take off the tail, cut it in, I'd say thirds on this one, and I like to use all of it. Motai nai, a very important concept also in Japanese culinary philosophy. And the eat with your eyes one is meide taberu. Very, very important. And so you're just going to split the scallion lengthwise. In all the years that I studied cooking, my knife skills are not as great as Japanese, so I just try very hard to do the best I can. And you're just going to make julienne cuts. It's like this. I usually do it on a wooden board, which gives me a little bit more flexibility. I'll just get my wooden cutting board so I can do this a little bit better. Okay, and you're just going to cut it into lengths. There we go, like this, and put it right into the bowl of cold water, like that. And by the end of the time that you've made the ramen, these will be nice and curly and all ready to put on top. So if you all can do that, that would be a good start for your ramen. And just a little bit more. All right. So if everybody's with me, I am now going to move to the, tare, which is the seasoning for this. And today I have everything all ready for you. Just turn off my noodle things. So actually I should tell you, you need 2 pots today. One for making the toppings and the soup. They'll be done in one bowl, one pot. And the other pot you should have on the stove now for your noodles. And so, you know, fill it up with about 6 or 8 cups of water, turn it on to a boil so you'll be ready then. This miso tare includes miso. I'm using shiro miso today. That's a white miso and the mildest of all misos. It doesn't matter if it's organic, but this is a very good brand, Marukome. I like to use that. Something you should be aware of when you buy miso is that sometimes miso comes with dashi, and dashi is the stock, the soup stock made of bonito, which is the dried fish flakes that is used to season. It's a skipjack tuna. It's in the tuna family, and it is fish-based. So you should know that. I always buy regular miso with no dashi added in it. So the dashi added would be like for miso soup so that you don't have to go that extra step of making dashi first. So I've got miso, 3 tablespoons. I have 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, shoyu. And I didn't measure these out all with you. I'm pretty sure you know how to do that, but it's 1 tablespoon of shoyu. And I never measure over the bowl that I'm going to put my things, my final ingredients in. I always measure to the side, just in case I slip, which is often. So there we go. We have 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. We have a teaspoon of sesame oil. And I like this brand. It's just a toasted sesame oil, Kadoya, generally Japanese. Yay, I see Shara has that. And so the important bit here is that it's roasted or toasted sesame oil. That goes in. And we have a teaspoon of sugar. There, all right. And then I will show you, we have ginger, fresh ginger, and fresh garlic, okay? I've been asked before, if you don't have fresh ginger, can you use dried ginger? Generally, I like people to use what they have, but in this case, I would say no. The taste is completely different. Although I've never tried it, I would say it's probably going to alter the taste of the ginger dramatically. I just wanted to show you when I'm cutting up the garlic that I use the broad side of my knife to smash down, and then you very easily can pull it off. When we're working with very young children, very often we use a can, just a regular can of beans or something like that, and you can smash, 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 and the kids don't have to worry about a knife doing that. And now, again, this technique is smashing the garlic like that with your fist, and then just you're really mincing it very, very finely. This is a technique in Chinese cuisine, and they very often use a cleaver. And you want 2 cloves of garlic. And interestingly, this is not going to be cooked before it's used. It's going to be raw. So you're going to put the ginger and the garlic, raw into the miso, and we'll be mixing that up. And go ahead and do your second garlic like this and smash it. In the several months that we've been making this, sometimes I find it a little weak, so you'll taste it afterwards and see. Other people say it's sappari, which is kind of refreshing and light and not so heavy as a regular ramen broth. So, whoops, heavy-handed here, and again, cutting this up. All right. So that will be our garlic. And the next, oops, I try to keep myself and my boards cleaned. This is my special onigiri cloth. And just that, wipe up a little bit. And then we'll go on to the ginger, which is the same thing. It's fresh ginger. I took off the skin. I should have waited to show you a method of taking the skin off, which is with the back of a spoon. And that helps you to keep as much of the flesh of the ginger as possible. So I'm going to slice probably about 3 slices like this down. Ginger is very fibrous. And again, depending on whether you like ginger or not, can depend on how much you want to use. And same method of breaking it up and using the flat side. Look at that. Let's see if you can see how quickly that chopped, okay? And just pound it. Okay, and now it's ready for me to just scoop up and put right into the bowl with the tare. And we just mix it around and set it aside, okay? Now there's so many different ways that this tare is served in Japan. Sometimes it's put in the bottom of an individual bowl and then things are added to the top of it. Today, we're not going to do that. As I said, we try to make things as simple as possible for people and quickly. We do it quickly, so we're going to be adding this to the hot broth when we're ready. Okay, so the tare is ready. I'm going to put that on the side and my other items on the side, if you give me a second. And then we are going to start to make the toppings and the broth together at one time. And so my toppings are for this is ground pork, bean sprouts, moyashi, and corn. These are 3 of the toppings. And these I'm showing you because we're going to be cooking them together. All right, move this so that I can then get my thing going. And so you need now, I'm using a low wok, so it's just easy for you to be able to see how I'm cooking it. But you can use just a regular pan, okay? And what I'm going to do is start now to heat up the oil. And once the oil is a little bit hot, it's just regular canola oil. There's no flavor. I wouldn't use olive oil because that has a very distinctive flavor to it. And the first thing that we're going to be adding, so you need to have that ready. You need to have 4 cups of water at the ready, okay? Because that's going to be going right in as well. Make sure that your water is boiling. I am just waiting until this gets hot. And these are my noodles. I've got fresh noodles today from a ramen shop here in Boston that's called Brooklyn Ramen. I have absolutely no idea why it's called Brooklyn Ramen, but it is Brooklyn Ramen. They make great fresh ramen. Okay, so once your oil is heated, you're going to add the pork. Like that. See if I get this just a little bit closer for you. And what you want to do is to cook it until you lose the pink part of the pork. You can use ground chicken, you can use ground turkey, you can use whatever ground you like, ground beef, but it's usually pork in miso ramen. Usually ground pork. Let me just lower this a little bit. Okay. And you're going to see how quickly this cooks up. So who's ever cooking with me, it looks like Shara is cooking with me. Are you with me, Shara? Thumbs up? Yeah, okay. I don't know if anybody else is cooking. Yoshi, do you see anyone else cooking? Do you see if anyone else is cooking there?
I think it's just Shara.
Okay.
Else has their camera turned off. So, but we can do this at home. We have a recording of this for everyone to watch, so you can cook on your own time.
Okay. The ground pork is done. Now I'm going to add my moyashi. If you don't have bean sprouts, you can use cabbage. Just shred your cabbage. Okay, going to add that. Put that in the sink. And then I'm going to add the corn, which adds sweetness and color. Okay. And you just want to get everything, you want to wilt the bean sprouts. If I can move it over a little bit closer for you. So you can see that. And as soon as they're wilted, sometimes I like to add just directly to this a little bit of salt on top of the vegetables and the meat. It tends to bring out a flavor. Not a lot, because there's plenty of salt in here. And also, if you want to bring up the salt flavor, you can add a little bit more soy sauce. Okay. And now everything's just about cooked. So what I'm going to do is going to add the water directly here. I think I can get 4 cups in here. Yes, got it. Okay. So it's taken me several classes to realize people observing in a pot, it's a little difficult, but this is much easier. Put your water to the boil for your noodles now, okay? You want to get those ready. Not, you don't want to do the noodles yet because it just takes minutes. And when this comes up to a boil or a simmer, that is when I will add my miso tate. Okay? How you doing, Shara? Okay? Thumbs up? Good. All right. Very good. All right. This is for 4 servings, and a half a pound of meat doesn't sound like a lot, but the meat is not the point in this. It's sort of a combination of all of the things together. And let me just show you while we're waiting for that to come to a boil. Other toppings are the soft boiled egg, or slightly more. It's not a hard boiled egg. It's called a ramen egg. And so I cooked this for 7 minutes instead of the 9 minutes to make a hard boiled egg. And so you have this at the ready. The whole thing that's really important about this is that you have everything ready to construct your bowl immediately as when your noodles are done. So I have my eggs all ready, and I also have a piece of nori. This is a little bit big, so I'm just going to cut this in half. And this is also going to go on top like that. And another tool that will be very helpful to you in this, and because we're going to be doing 2 different things here, is you're going to need maybe a pair of tongs if you have them. They're very helpful. We are not going to be draining the noodles into a strainer. We're going to be picking them out of the bowl, and you will see why. All right. And here is my, let's see if I can get up here while we're waiting here. This is my setup for my ramen bowl. You have the bowl, a large bowl. I have my chopsticks and my little froggy hashioki rest. And you have kind of a Chinese style soup spoon. And I'm sure many of you have been, eaten ramen, and so you know that these are eaten in combination there. All right, my broth is just about ready. As you can see, it's coming up to a boil like that. And if you want a little bit more flavor, as I said, sometimes it's been a little weak, you could start off with a beef broth or a chicken broth. Here we just have the water. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add the miso sauce, the tate, all right? And so as not to miss anything, I'm going to dip this in the hot water and get this going here. All right. And then we let it simmer. Don't let it boil. You generally don't let miso boil. Let me just lower this. And we're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes until the noodles are done. Okay. You can also add more miso if you would like a stronger flavor. White miso gives you a mild flavor. Red miso, the darker miso, gives you a little bit stronger flavor. And then there's the miso, awase miso, which is a combination of red and white together. Shara, what are you using? What kind of miso are you using? Can you show us? What have you got? Oh, okay. So I think that's shiro miso. That's right. Shiro miso, that's the white miso. It's really, it's very good, very mild. You want to unmute yourself? And you can use this for miso soup, miso dip, anything. It's really good. A miso sauce, you can brush it on top of chicken or fish when you're cooking it and broiling it. Okay?
Yeah,
Where did you get that?
We got it from an
Double Dragon Market.
Asian grocery store in the town we live in.
Okay. So the good thing is that you've got an Asian grocery store, But
Okay,
if
yeah.
you don't, everything is available online. There are markets that are just Japanese markets like Gohan Market, Tokyo Central, and then Amazon has absolutely everything. Okay, so now you want to get your noodles in and look at your package. Can you show me what kind of noodles you're using, Shara? Oh, I made her climb up the stairs there. Okay, as I said, I'm using fresh noodles. Mine take 2 minutes. What have you got? Oh, good, dried noodles, excellent.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It was hard to find ramen noodles.
Uh-huh.
Like it was all udon and soba and
What does that say? I couldn't see the package. Can you show me the package? Yeah, ramen. Okay, very good. Now, very often, if I can't find fresh noodles and I don't want to use those cup of noodle things, I buy them, the instant ramen, and I throw out the package of seasoning because that's where most of that 2,000 milligrams of sodium lies, okay? So my noodles are going to take 2 minutes to cook because they're fresh. So check your package. I'm going to put them right in the pot now, okay? And they are going to cook in 2 minutes. And you can use chopsticks, you can use tongs to move them around and just loosen them up here. And they will be ready shortly. Okay. Yoshi-san, are there Asian markets in Atlanta that
There
people?
are, yeah. We do have a lot of Asian and also Japanese grocery stores in Atlanta.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
All right. So let's get our bowl ready. And again, as I said, everything should be out and ready for you to do. I've got my scallions now, and I'm going to remove them from here and put them on a paper towel just to dry them out just a little bit. Okay. So I have those all set to go. And just waiting for my noodles to cook. I have my eggs ready. All right. This is, I guess, the French word mise en place, everything in place that chefs do. You're also supposed to clean as you go, but I didn't get that memo. So I'm a little bit of a bomb in the kitchen. All right. And I've got that. These will be my last bit. If you want to add a little bit of heat to your ramen, you would do it when you put it in the tade. This is Tobancha. This is a spicy peppers, and you can put that in to the miso tade that we made, and that will make your soup spicy. You can also add ryu the same way, or sriracha, which is around, but sriracha has a bit of vinegar in it, so it does alter the taste a little bit, but it's really, really yummy. And the other thing that people do very often is just add a Japanese pepper. This is ichimi, which is just one Japanese pepper. There's also shichimi or nanami, which has 7 different types of spices in it. So however you like the ramen, spicy ramen, you would add it to the tade, and you can add a little bit more afterwards. This I would put on top at the end. Okay, so I think now my noodles are ready. Let me just check them. Right, and yep, okay. So I'll get my bowl set here. All right. And what we're going to do is take the noodles right from the pot with the tongs. Noodles are going in first, okay? Make that up so you can see it. Noodles in first. Just like this, right in the middle of the bowl, all right? One nest is usually good for one person, one Japanese person anyway. It's a little clumpy over there. All right, and let me put this aside. And what I will tell you is, generally speaking, may not be so with ramen that much, you don't want to pile as much as you can into a bowl. It's very important, again, as I said, for you to see some of the space of the dish that you're, and it's part of the experience of admiring that. So now that's finished. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the soup. So let's get over there. And I have a ladle. And I'm going to try, let me just move these things aside here. Keep my bowl up here. And I'm going to just take the soup and put the soup around here. All right. All around. As you can see, the soup piling up. So what I'm doing is I'm constructing my bowl the way I would like to. All right. So there's my bowl. And now I'm going to add the toppings from here. Oops, I got to put this down a little hot. And I'm going to do that. The best way I can do that is with my tongs. And so I'll take out toppings and put it right on. And you'll be able to grab corn, and as you can see, I'm putting it right on top. So you see it. You can see the pork, you can see the corn, you can see the moyashi. How you doing, Shara? Are you with me? All right. Let me just see a little bit. Remember, this is for 4 people. I guess I should have told you, before you do this, you can taste the soup to see if it's to your liking and if you wanted to add a little bit more to it. So now I have the bowl ready. All right. And now we're ready to finish the topping with the egg. Put an egg in. Whoops. Right on top here. All right. And you have your piece of nori that you put here. Okay. And you have your, I'm going to say, before you do that, I'm going to add a little bit of my hot pepper. So I would add this a little bit first, so I'll get a little bit more in the bowl like that. And my scallions right at the top. Okay, that is my miso ramen. You want to take a sip taste of your soup of the tare, and you decide if you feel like you need a little bit more flavor to it, just add what you like. But basically, that is the bowl, and you eat ramen with a soup. I'm dominant, right-hand dominant, so I keep the soup spoon in my left hand, and I eat with my right hand, dipping the soup in and eating it like this, and then pulling up the noodles like that. And I'm pretty sure if you're all members of the Japan Society, you know that slurping noodles is A-OK in Japanese culture, and is part of the gestalt, part of the feeling and the eating experience of this. So I think I have everything on here. And this is our miso ramen. So I'm sure everyone knows that you say itadakimasu before you eat. I'm going to stop my share and see if anyone has any questions or comments.
With Deborah, instead of using, I guess, pork or any type of meat, she used tofu. Is that pretty common? Is that a pretty good substitute for meat in ramen?
It's a good substitute in ramen, but I might have you might need a little bit more flavor in the stock. So I might use, or if you're vegetarians, I might use a vegetable stock Or the other thing that might help it is that you saute some onions. Get some onions and mushrooms together in there and then add the water, and then you've got the flavor. You may have a vegetarian bouillon stock that would help that. So that would be another thing that I would do. And so the tofu that you would use would probably be a firm tofu. And the other thing I might do with the tofu, if you haven't done it yet, or if it's not ready yet, you might want to fry the tofu. Just very briefly, cut it in kind of strips or even in cubes, and just a little bit of salt and pepper and fry it. When you're cooking with tofu, I don't know how familiar you are with it. Very often you will wrap it in paper towels to kind of get some of the moisture out. So I wrap it in a paper towel and put a little weight on it, and you'd be amazed at how much water comes out. Another way to get water out of tofu is to put it in the microwave for a minute. And that also helps to do that. So that's another way, but I would recommend using firm or medium firm. Otherwise it'll break apart. The soft will break apart. So, especially now with summer coming, I don't know how warm it is in Iowa, but that dish I showed, the cold tofu, grated ginger, a little katsuo flakes and soy sauce. That's all you want to eat on a hot day. It's really, really delicious.
And Deborah, for all of our, I guess, maybe American attendees, or maybe people who may not be familiar with eating ramen, why is it important to eat ramen quickly after, I guess, it's made?
Well, one of the reasons is that you don't want it to cool down too much. So, I mean, I don't know how they eat it so fast. It seems like they're not enjoying it. But slurping the ramen and eating it quickly doesn't give the noodles a chance to cool down too much. But as you slurp them, they cool down enough to be able to eat. Yoshi-san, do you know another reason why?
Oh, yes. Well, I guess, you don't want the men or the noodles to nobiru, right? To get long.
Right, get too long.
The taste changes a little bit, I guess, for ramen noodles.
Yeah.
It gets all straightened out, right? So.
Ah, okay. I learned something today too. I didn't know that. Yeah, because they're usually curly. They're definitely curly. And I know a lot of Americans now, you go into an American supermarket and there's almost as many, instant ramen noodles as there is cold cereal. It really seems to advance. And it's not just Japanese ramen. Koreans have really spicy hot ramen too. So they're good. I would urge you to look at the back of the package and just be aware of the nutrition, value that's in there. You could be eating an entire day's worth of salt in one bowl. And sometimes on the back of the package, you'll see the serving size, it says 1 serving. Sometimes those packages are 2 servings, but nobody eats 2 servings of that. They eat it all at one time. So just as long as you're aware of what's going down, you know, and you can know how to do that. So Church has a raised hand. Please, you can unmute and tell us.
Looks like the question is, are there any keto-friendly noodle options?
Ah, that's interesting. I'm not as familiar with the keto diet. I know that it's heavy in protein. Actually, yes, I think I recently saw something that's made with edamame, actually soy protein noodles. I have seen them. I know there's chickpea noodles. So you can use any pasta that is appropriate for your diet. Definitely, you can use that. Doesn't have to be wavy ramen. It's just noodles. I don't know if rice stick noodles would fall into the keto category, but that's a possibility of the thin rice stick noodles. And the Beyond Beef, absolutely, you can use that. I've tasted that. That's pretty yummy. And when you add these other seasonings, it really comes up. So that's a great idea. And thank you. And now I'm going to look for those kind of noodles. And at the end of a meal, we always say "Gochisousama deshita." Both "itadakimasu" and "Gochisousama" are expressions of appreciation. They're not religious prayers, and they basically are thanking and appreciating the people who made the food, who grew the food, and who are people that have, perhaps even served the food to you.
So let's give a round of virtual applause to Deborah-san. Thank you so much, Deborah-san, for showing us how to make the proper way of making it. Right, so hopefully that wasn't your ramen, but
No, it wasn't. It was the ichime. Things are flying off the counters here.
there's so much excitement, right? So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Applause.
I
And then
really appreciate it. And Shada-san, I hope it tastes good. You may need to doctor it up a little bit, okay?
Join us again next time. Let's give another round of applause to Deborah-san, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully, Deborah, we can invite you to Atlanta and Georgia next time. We can
I would love to come. Okay. Ja,
Great.
sayonara, minasan. Bye-bye.